Hi, it's Richard here from Intelligent Advisor IT Consulting with another in our series of videos about Oracle Intelligent Advisor flows. In this case, we'll be looking at how to use the Visual Builder template to create a mobile application that allows the user to create assessments on their mobile device and also allows Oracle Service Cloud to create an assessment which can then be synchronized to the device of the user. This should sound fairly familiar to you if you ever used the old Oracle Policy Automation mobile application. So before I start, I must pay tribute to the maestra of Oracle Intelligent Advisor technical writing, a lady called Sue Novak, who is responsible for, amongst other things, the online documentation that we all use, and to say thank you for a recent set of online documentation which has been released, which will be linked to at the end of this article, and which has improved immeasurably how it is easy to get on board with Oracle Visual Builder and Oracle Intelligent Advisor flows. So the first thing we need to do before we do anything else is on the Oracle Intelligent Advisor Hub, we need to sort out some permissions. You need an API client, and that API client will need permissions on a workspace, which include the interview APIs, if you're going to use the flow. And also in this example, I use the manager because the manager is used to present the mobile device user with a list of available flows. This workspace has a project deployed in it, which is a fairly standard flow. And this is the flow that we're going to be seeing in the demonstration. The flow has some basic eligibility rules and has a set of pages designed to help you look at your eligibility. Now, the example I'm using for this demo, in fact, most of this flow isn't really appropriate and doesn't actually work properly, but it'll do for my first demo. Later on in this series, we'll look at building this using a more appropriate flow. This was a flow that was designed some time ago. This flow is based on the original Student Benefits example project. So if you are going to do this yourselves, you can find the Student Benefits flow example also in the online documentation, and I will reference that in the article as well. So once all of this is deployed and you've set up your API client, you will also need, within the access settings, to make sure that your Visual Builder instance is listed in the interview access control and the hub access control. And then within Visual Builder, we can create a new project and we can change the template to Oracle Intelligent Advisor Mobile Application Template. And that will create an instance of that application. I've got one here that I've already opened, so rather than sit and wait for it to instance, we can go and have a look. And what do we need to be aware of within this application? Let's just close all this up so it's a little easier to read. Well, there are a couple of places where you're going to need to make some changes to your application. The first being amongst the variables for the IA mobile application, because there's a hub API version. So my hub is running version 23B, which is 12.2.31. And then we need to look at our service connections and our backends. And we can see that there are two backends created, one for the Advisor Hub and one for B2C service. In both of these cases, there will be a need for you to modify the default variable, or rather to modify the value of the variable, in this case the hub host, And in the case of the B2C service backend, it will be the B2C server backend URL. So both of those will need to be changed to match the corresponding values in your application. And in the service connections, for example, in B2C REST API, here is where we will find the username and password that will be used to make REST calls to B2C service. So you'll need to edit these and add your own username and password. And for the IA Hub API, similarly, you will need to add the client ID and the client secret so that you are able to access the Oracle Intelligent Advisor Hub correctly. You may also need to change the token URL to match your hub. Once that has been changed, so let's just go over here and close all of that down to make it nice and tidy. We should be at a point where the setup of the Visual Builder application is pretty much done. We will also, in this case, need in Oracle Service Cloud, there will need to be a staff account that has the same name as the user that is running Visual Builder for this demo. So it's going to look for, in my case, Richard Napier. So if I want to demo this properly, I'll need to make sure that I have a staff account called Richard Napier in Oracle Service Cloud. Now that I've done that, I can go ahead and run the debugger. And you'll see that in my case, I currently have 3 assessments. Switching over to Oracle Service Cloud and refreshing this list, you'll see that I have rather more than 3. But if we look at any of the others, we'll see that they have been cancelled. So mobile assessment objects are how we're going to push an assessment to the mobile device, or rather also how the mobile device is going to create a mobile assessment. And you will see that there's a deployment field, which is going to be the AOPA deployment, the staff account, so the agent that's been assigned to this request, a description, a status, and an object ID, the contact ID and so forth, which in this example won't work because I'm using a flow that doesn't have a data action correctly configured, but we'll cross that bridge in another video. So that explains why there are only 3 currently in the mobile demo, because there are only 3 that have a status of in progress. So if I was to look at this one here, which you can see is fill 1, if I delete it from the mobile device, I'll see a message saying, please synchronize with the server. I'll synchronize with the server and I'll return to this record and refresh it. You'll see that it is now cancelled. So a user operating the mobile application who deletes an assessment, it shows up in Oracle Service Cloud as a cancelled assessment. So now we only have the last 2. If I create a new assessment here locally on the device and choose the only available the only available flow that I have, and give it a name, and you'll notice that, well, the interview begins, and I now have an assessment called RN Demo 1 that is in progress, which is pending synchronization. So I'll run the synchronization, and I think you know what's going to happen. If I refresh, you'll see that I now have a new record here called record 486, which represents the record that I created locally and synchronized. So now I have a mechanism whereby I can create local assessments and synchronize them with Service Cloud, or I can create assessments in Service Cloud and synchronize them with the device, and the user of the device sees the assessments and then can run the assessment and perform the necessary steps to run the interview flow. So that just about wraps it up for our first demo in setting up a Oracle Intelligent Advisor mobile application using Visual Builder, and then testing it with your Oracle Service Cloud instance to create assessments and synchronize them backwards and forwards between the device and the server. More of that in the article, and more videos in this series to come in the not too distant future. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching. See you again soon.